Well, thank you so much for doing this with us.
My pleasure.
I'd love to start with an intro about you so everyone can know who you are. I have to say, I feel like the first time we met at Expo West, it felt like a soul connection. Like I felt like you were somebody that I needed to know in my life, and very grateful for our friendship, and very inspired by the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Sachi.
And, as we have discussed in the past, I think we're just trying to find ways to tell more hopeful, inspirational stories of people who are really bucking the system and trying to build something that is better for people, for planet, helping people and women feel embodied, be connected to their body. I love that we both have plants as muse. That's one of the things in common. So, and today is it's an unseasonably warm day in the Bay Area. And we have the birds chirping, so this is going to be fun.
It's a beautiful background for this conversation.
So tell us everything. Who is Rachel?
That's a lot. It's a big question. Well, I just want to say first off, feeling is so mutual, and it's so good to just go out into the world and meet other women who are kind of on really powerful paths, and being able to reconnect and feel like there's a network of other women. I think we need each other in this. We need each other in this larger vision. The idea of the entrepreneur, it's so like single focused, or it just feels like it's so individual. But I think actually the more I've done Fat in the Moon, and the more I've kind of expanded into the network, I'm really seeing how women are really thinking about things greater than the sum of their parts. And that I think is going to be super important for just how we're going to be moving forward as humans on this planet. We need each other. Yeah, so I have a company, Fat in the Moon, and it's an herbal body care company, and I'm the formulator and herbalist and founder and mama. Really, it feels like a kind of entity that I birthed. It's growing, and kind of now it's like in a teenager phase, I feel like. And we self-manufacture based in Nevada City, and it's been just like a journey of both thinking about plants and their their powerful medicinal properties, but also thinking about a reclamation of a skill set. Herbal medicine is part of all of our ancestry, and herbal medicine is really a huge part of my Slovenian heritage. So it's kind of this opportunity to really indulge in the love of that history and of plants. But then we make body care products. The body care product topically is the gateway into the profound efficacy of herbal medicine, and an opportunity also for people to reconnect with their bodies. Definitely in the cosmetics industry, it's just leveraging insecurity, and just all of the messages out there of just like not good enough really perpetuates the kind of extractive processes that we see all around us, because we're trying to make up for something. So I think a big part of what Fat in the Moon is trying to do is not just having non-toxic, body care products, but really thinking about the messaging, really thinking about what is the poison that we continue to spread to each other through these sort of unconscious, conditioning that we have. Yeah, that's Fat in the Moon and me in a nutshell, I guess.
You're a fine artist. You're a trained artist.
Yes.
How was the transition from an artist, someone who was societally regarded as a creative? How was that transition to business owner and entrepreneur and founder?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're really similar, actually. Artists are thinking creatively about material and how to recombine material, how to enliven material in different ways. And really, that's also business. I thought for a long time, I was like, well, I'm an artist, but I have this business because herbal medicine has been, really inspiring to me. And I did think about them separately, but I think the longer I'm doing what I'm doing, the more it feels like an art practice. Because a lot of it is just problem solving. You have I was a painter, you have these colors, you have this material, you have the thing that you're painting on, whatever the brush is, it's just like you're setting yourself up for like a million problems to solve. And I think that is absolutely business 100%. And then also being able to create something that is its own entity. You're kind of a channel for this particular vision, and then it kind of does its own thing. And that's very much what a business and an art practice looks like.
I think, wrestling with the reconciliation of that. I don't have something that's that would be an external validation of my art, if that makes sense, or my artistry. And I think I'm in this space where I'm trying to reclaim the fact that I am, if not a creative, creative. Trying to figure out what that line between, or what that tension between creativity and productivity is. And it feels dense. We're measured by yield, and I think so much of this extractive modality has really ruined the way that we think about our, I would even say our time, but our land, our resource. I'm trying to kind of put myself in the position of accepting that I'm going to put a creative work out there, and yes, it's a business, and I'm not going to be able to actually control how people perceive it, or like how it resonates with people, or the value that it's really creating. So and I'm also trying to figure out, I'm curious if this resonates with you, how to structure my time to actually protect my creative energy a little bit more.
Definitely.
Because when I'm grinding, and there's periods where you have to grind, I am not creative. I can't tap into that well of creativity and hope and inspiration. I think what I'm disentangling is a 9 to 5, like, laptop monkey is the only way to define work.
There's so much in that is so interesting, because I think this idea of creativity and productivity as like a tension, they're so interconnected. Because there's phases of the creative process that does require much more like expansive, the unknown, I guess. There's like a big piece of the creative process that is the unknown, whereas productivity is very like, okay, here's the known, this is what we're trying to accomplish, these are objectives, this is how we're going to measure it. They need each other. Totally. They absolutely need each other. And I think I've always struggled with business, as this sort of like structural force. I mean, because of the way that we see it in our world. But when I looked more closely, because I actually benefit from that kind of structure, I benefit from having ways of measuring, but it's not all there. It's not all in that kind of productivity, and it's not all in the creativity, because the creativity is this open, expansive place, but there's a lot coming in. It's just a different realm. So I think it's actually the dance between the two. And sometimes the dance requires you to kind of lean in one direction or the other more. But yeah, this idea that like, I think the grind is interesting, because I can identify with like, that is absolutely where I feel my cultural conditioning coming in really strong. And, but also part of it is that I want to see this thing. And like, I don't know, when you bring something into the world, I feel a tremendous amount of responsibility to Fat in the Moon. So like, I'm going to fucking fight for her if I need to. And sometimes, I will be nourished by that. And sometimes I will have energy zapped from that. And it's so much like parenting. Like, that is my reality as a mom too. So, I think this is where, again, we need each other. Like the network of community to be able to support each other after we kind of go through periods of like a lot of work, to make sure that we give each other space to say like, okay, you did that, good job, like it's who you are. And also like, let's make time for rest, let's make time for reflection, because that's the part that we learn. We need to be able to do these experiences and learn from them. I think that's the part we're skipping. We're not learning.
I think it's about like creating space to be able to learn. But I think, we've glamorized this like hustle culture.
Totally.
That I just don't think it lends itself to true innovation and to creativity, because there's no space. There's no space to learn. There's no space to reflect. I'm really walking off of that ledge where I'm like, if that means taking space every morning to protect my energy and just do something that fills my creative cup, I am going to commit to that, and commit to that, put it on my calendar, commit to that as an act of productivity, and not just indulgence, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it's really it's a practical survival skill, because who does it really benefit if it definitely doesn't benefit our business or people who are in our lives if we just are going without creating that space. So but this is kind of where, like, this is the edge of adaptation. This is the edge of where humans, we are good at adapting. And I think, through conversations like this and other women I know, we're getting the signal, this isn't working the way that it is. So what are we going to do? And it's hard to go against the grain. It's really hard to go against momentum, ancestral momentum, cultural momentum. But it's so necessary for evolution.
I feel this every day, and I think it's getting exacerbated in some of the conversations I'm having about AI. And
Yeah.
we are at a pretty wild inflection point in the world. I attended a really fascinating session about how to use virtual assistants, executive assistants. I've never had one before. We're such a small team. We're at this inflection point where we have tools and capabilities and access in a way that we've never had before. But it's brought up the question of what the hell am I going to do with that time? When I take all of that busy work out, I would say it's probably like 30 to 40% of my day.
I hear you.
What juicy like stuff am I going to fill it with? To be able to kind of be at that edge. Don't believe in coincidences. There is something about the timing of the rise of what I think is the rise of the divine feminine, the rise of AI, the system that is not working for us as defined by our political, financial, economic crises, climate change. So something's happening. And I feel like the old system is the old guard is strong and incumbent and scary, but there's something else happening here. So I'm excited about it.
It's great to hear you frame it like that. We are definitely in a particular moment, and we can feel it in like very intense ways. And if you think about the history of humanity, the amount of technological change that's happened in the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years is insane. Especially going back to see how slowly things were kind of moving along. I'm definitely excited by the same things and simultaneously horrified. Yeah, as far as the question about time, I think that's really interesting, because we've kind of, this is like always the promise of convenience, where, we've created our lives to be such that, we have so much convenience because we believe it's going to save us time. But then it's almost like the more life has become convenient, the more we are able to get like our toilet paper delivered to our house like 2 hours after we're feeling more and more crunched. We're feeling like we don't have space. So it's paradoxical, and I don't know about that. I definitely look like on the ground, like I'm stoked that there are these tools that can help me and my team with the tedious tasks that we need to do.
Yeah,
totally. Does it give us more time? That's an interesting question. And then time for what?
Exactly.
And then will we just fill that time with more, like more of the things that we're already doing, just at a different level? Or are we going to take that time and actually like own that time for something that's good for our spirits?
That's my hope. I think that's my hope for me. I don't want to thrust my hope on you.
Please do.
Okay, I thrust it. I think the time is space. I think time, it's like juicy, like sinewy, languid space. I think we need to rest. I think we need to reflect, so I'm hoping that the time is not like efficiency culture, not like let's get efficient, 10% more efficient so we can do 20% more. I actually want to get 20% more efficient so I can do 50% less. And I think the way that I will be able to show up as a human, as a leader, as a family member, whatever, like insert role here, especially as a woman, I think it's going to heighten my ability to do that with like love and empathy and kindness and abundance, because I'm definitely coming out of a space of burnout. I'm curious if you've ever navigated that.
Definitely.
It's rough when you're in that scarcity, headspace, because you can't see. Something that you said in your teachings, which we should also get back to plants, that I loved, was you were talking about when you're in scarcity, your peripheral vision is encumbered, so you can't actually see beyond. You can't see the whole picture.
Sympathetic nervous system dominance.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it was.
It's survival mode. And we're biologically wired to deal with stress and deal with danger in particular ways that are, thank God. But chronically, literally, when we are in sympathetic nervous system dominance, we are just focused, like our peripheral vision kind of like, we have to focus on, running away or fighting or whatever it is to make sure that our asses are safe. And so that over time, though, is very depleting. I taught a class on burnout and witch burning, actually, and just thinking about the correlation. I like the idea of like the internalized burning. Like it's this way that the feminine is getting squashed and squeezed and pushed down, because really I'm thinking of not male and female, but masculine and feminine forces. The idea of the feminine is open and receptive and restful. And so when we're kind of in this culture and there's not space for that, like, no wonder we're getting burnt out. No wonder, the patriarchy was, burning women, to kind of like stamp out this part of nature, really, that's hard to control. Like, we are, in spaces where it's sexy, it's restful, it's enjoying, that you can't, like, I mean, this consumer culture has tried to figure out many different ways to leverage those things in order to sell people more shit that they don't need. But like, that's also just something that's like pleasure is like inherent. And so, yeah, I feel like there's so much to say around that particular piece. But burnout is such a force. And maybe you can identify with this, but I can speak for myself. Like, I've always been ambitious. I've always been like, no, I can do this too. And I'm going to do it just as good as any dude out there, and I'm going to do it all by myself. That idea is so toxic. It's like, if you look at any successful man, he's usually got like 5 women around him. Maybe it was his mom, it's his wife, it's his secretary, or whatever they're calling secretaries. So, like, without any hesitation, there's this like padding of support around that person, around that man. Yeah, there's so many different layers to that, but we're waking up to that. And now that we have the information, like, okay, we look around, chronic burnout, we look around, we see, yeah, people really struggling with that. What are we going to do about it? And so much needs to change.
Totally. What was your kind of gateway? I joke, the gateway drug. What was your gateway plant? What was the thing that you're like, holy shit, I love this and I want to dedicate my life to the study of this?
There's so many different stories I could tell, but I guess what I can say is, so when I was going to art school in New York City, I was in graduate school, and my art was very influenced by mythology and folk traditions. Cool. And so I started to like ask myself, what is mythology really? Like, what is it about? Like, what's the bones? What are the bones of mythology? It's really how people orient themselves in a larger ecosystem. So that's, the weather systems, that's the geological formations, that's the animals, and that's the plants. And I was living in New York, and didn't have any relationship to any of those. I started to get really curious about the plants that were around me, and they're weeds, like weeds, dandelion and mugwort and burdock, like they're just growing everywhere, just coming out of the sidewalks. And then so I started to get curious about them. Turns out medicinal plants all around. And at the same time, I was taking a permaculture design course, and I heard this idea that really changed my life. That weeds that grow in urban landscapes have correlation with the illnesses that people suffer from in the same landscapes.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So it was like, wait, what? Like, not that the plants are just here for us. Weeds are plants that are there for the remediation of the soil, for the insects, for, the pollinators. They're the kind of frontier group of plants that go into denuded landscapes that we have fucked up. But it was like there was a call and response. There was this way that we are also a species in nature. Like, even in New York City, in the concrete jungle, we are in nature and we are not separate from it. And that there's this exchange, this communication that's forever going on with all of the species in our environments. I've always loved plants. I think that they have been speaking to me since I was a kid. I was very interested in making drawings of them. Like, there was just something that I never really felt fully human. I don't know if I still feel fully human. So, but mugwort, I'll just say one plant. So mugwort in New York City is just like all over the place, like growing, like you look at an abandoned lot with like car tires and everything, and there's just like mugwort. And that plant is a very liminal plant. So you can take teas or tinctures of mugwort. It's a bitter, so it's really good for sort of digestive tonic, but it's also really good for female reproductive. It's a female reproductive tonic, and it's been used in different species have been used around the world for dreaming. So I was like, this is interesting. So like, what does this say about New York City? Like dreaming and bringing back the feminine, and this digestive that's all around us. So I think that's that's where I started to like see the magic, and my world was just, yeah, re-enlivened with spirit, from that realization that time.
How did you take your love for plants and literally bottle it up?
Mm. Good question, Sachi. So I didn't start out with Fat in the Moon. I didn't realize I was going to start a business, I guess I should say. So at that time, I was really, caring a lot about what I was putting inside my body. I was going and I was harvesting wild food plants in Prospect Park and making tinctures and, eating from the farmer's market, and just really caring a lot about that. And I am also just like a product whore. I love the lotions and the makeups and the things. And so I just started to get curious, like, what is in this shit that I'm like putting on multiple times a day, all over my most sensitive body parts. And it was like pretty alarming. Just like aluminum in my dry shampoo. I'm like, wait, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody put aluminum in their dry shampoo?
It's a good question.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
It's a very, yeah. So when you start like looking under the hood, it's freaky out there. So I was like, okay, forget this. Being an artist, it's like if you don't see something in the world that you want to see, you make it. And so that's what I did. I, started to get really into the oils and the different essential oils, and like thinking about powdered herbs in creative ways. And so I just started replacing things that I was using every day. So dry shampoo and lotions and deodorant and yoni dusters and different sprays, different toners. And then it was like an organic process. I started to give it to my friends and to my family. And then I was like, this is good. Like when I was just like playing with those materials, something just like woke up in me. And it felt like, especially at the same time, I was in graduate school and like about to kind of launch into the art world. And the art world is like a particular place. And I was having a lot of, hesitation about like serving myself up and my vision into that world. And it's another kind of commodification. It's another kind of rat race. So the potions just felt so much more accessible. Like everything that I believed in, I could also make it into a deodorant, and I could actually share the same story as a painting, and so many more people would be able to understand it. And that was really appealing to me. So from there, I started an Etsy shop, and kind of just organically grew from there. And then I moved to California from New York. And then it just went to like cool boutiques in the city in San Francisco, sold at a couple farmers markets. And it was just kind of like, it was just so organic. It was just what I wanted to do. And then I was just able to do it. So I'm so grateful.
That's incredible. Yeah. So the nature of your role just changes at every stage. And I'm curious how you think about those times.
Yeah, I love making things and I still do. But I also really, it's challenging too. Like, don't get me wrong. It hasn't been rainbows and sunshine. Like, there's been a lot of mistakes that I've made, and I'm still learning. But I have to say that, like, working with a team and working in collaboration, I'm just thinking about one of my employees, Michelle. She started as a maker, and now she's my formulator. So her and I get to just have fun and think about different materials, and that kind of like exchange. Or like my marketing person, oh my gosh, Kelsey, we get to have fun. Like there's an exchange and there's a magic in that kind of back and forth that I really love, and it gives me the opportunity to do the thing that I was doing in my kitchen in a different way, if that makes sense. Okay. So
I love that.
Yeah, I like this. I actually like running a business, which is weird to say out loud because I feel like I spend a lot of time complaining about it.
You can do both. There's space for both.
Thank you, Sachi. Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah,
that's amazing.
It's just very creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel that way? Like
the cop-out answer is, I'll tell you tomorrow. I don't know if we've talked about this directly, but I think so. I've been running Rootless for 4 years, and I think I'm entering a new era. For me and for Rootless, I think we were in a 1.0 and it worked, and some things worked, some things didn't. And I'm entering 2.0, and Rootless is entering 2.0. And I think a part of that transition is to find my joy again.
Yeah.
You know, like I just stopped playing. I
Yeah.
stopped having fun at my job, which is, and I think I love what you said about like this idea that that's what artists do. You know, if it doesn't exist, you create it. What a privilege to be able to birth something into the world that is impacting other people, you know,
Really.
or impacting people and planet. I mean, that's like a double whammy. So at some point I realized that I just stopped having fun. That sucks. And I love my team. I love the seaweed. I love it. There's so many things that I love, but I did not like it very much.
I hear you.
So I'm excited to slowly, like one foot at a time, one step at a time, play again. So this is very inspiring to me.
I want to support you, Sachi, because I've definitely had dark. I've been in dark places and can really identify with that, like despair, you know. And also when you look out in the world and you're just like, well,
Totally.
is this even like are you all even listening or care? You know, so but again, that's why it's so important to find each other, and that's why it's so important to plug into the network. You know, this is the teaching of the plants, and I think that's really why plants are so inspiring, is because they're not humans, they're not animals. So we can look at them and be like, wait, there's all different models. There's all different models out there for how to be in community, for how to grow. That's what I'm needing. Like, I need some external references, because if we just keep looking over here, it's just like we keep making the same mistakes.
Totally. I also, I question a lot, who are we looking at and why? You know, I really am trying to figure out what is truly the business model that I'm trying to build towards. And there's actually very few large companies that are modeled either to me or that I find inspiration. And like Patagonia, for example, is one of the companies that I'm like, that's the kind of company that I want to build. You know, I don't know too much about it on the inside, but all the books that I've read, it sounds amazing. But I think, you know, I think that was one of the early things that we bonded over in our initial call, which is like, pick up the phone. We can choose to pick up the phone or not, but something is calling us right now, you know? So I think this idea of like expanding into a new space, a new model where we actually don't look at the old model is interesting to me. Or learn from the old model, but build our own. You know?
It's a lot. You know, because it's not only do you have this business that has its needs and is playing in like this world in this context, you're playing the game while you're also trying to create a different one. And that is where I get tripped up all the time. And I think part of it, I started Fat in the Moon with so much naivete. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And it was my greatest strength and my greatest weakness. And so I think it's like, how do you, especially when you kind of come to that point where you're like in despair, you're hopeless, you're like, this isn't fun anymore. How do you kind of come out of that, from that, like, because that's really, it's like the Fool and the Tarot card. I think we talked about that. Like the Fool and the Tarot card is just like, I'm going to walk right off this cliff and who knows what's going to happen. So like, if you don't have that juice or that, you know, wide open, you know, innocence, what's going to keep you going at that next phase, you know? And that's, I think, going to be that persistence of like, this needs to be in the world, and like, regardless. And I also need to take care of myself regardless. So but I think this is where the new model is forming, because it's like, okay, can we learn from what's come before us? Can we, you know, not throw the baby out with the bathwater? I mean, some like corporate jargon and ways of structuring things, I'm like, thank you, I needed that. Thank you for helping me organize my team and, you know, come up with systems. But the like dehumanizing part of that can stay over there, you know? So like, we are in this process of like having to sort through a lot of shit, and I think on the collective level too. But like, life wants to live, and like life wants to find new forms. And I think that's the new force that I'm trusting in, is like, there is a spirit that is just like needs to be existing. So like, let me just channel that through. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I also just love this idea of, you know, not being in survival mode so that you can see the mugwort for what it is. Like
Yeah.
it's totally about perspective. It's a weed and it's
Totally.
annoying, but it's
Yeah.
also, there's so much treasure
Mm-hmm.
in the things around us.
Yeah.
And I think when we're constantly kind of striving for perhaps something that was not meant for us in the first place, you can't see the stuff for what it is. So I love that example.
It's so true. Yeah, actually, the archetype that I think about so much with the weeds, and then kind of related to this too, is the trickster. It's like, the weed is like, it just keeps coming back. Like the stronger the poison, the more it's like, yeah, I got this. And it's a medicine. It's potentially a medicine for the person who's spraying it with glyphosate. It's like, there's something funny about that. And like, this trickster energy, I think, is part of what is going to, at least maybe I can speak for myself, the trickster has so much capacity because it's both one thing and the opposite simultaneously. And in order for those things to kind of be held together, there's an enormous amount of play and humor and being able to kind of like try this on for size and then try this on for size. That has personally given me a lot of room and thinking about things as just inherently multidimensional. There's no black and white. It's all nuanced and it's all interconnected. And that, I think, just like kind of being in the mess of it and like just embracing it, that's hard, because it's at the end of the day, it's about the unknown. And again, like, I think that unknown is the creative place, but it's also the place that scares the shit out of us.
Totally. And I think, I obviously don't have the male experience or can't speak from the male experience, but I hypothesize that strongly, that I don't think women are we are not allowed to be messy, right? Like, we're not given the permission. We don't give ourselves the permission to be messy, to show up as undone or half baked. And I think as leaders, I think about that a lot, because I think I see a lot of the narrative of burnout and failure through the lens of success. Like, I only see quote unquote successful people talking about failure. Which I think is so interesting. Like, I haven't read or been a part of a lot of narratives that are about like people going through it at the time. And I know it's hard to talk about, but I'm really excited about and leaning into and trying to surround myself with people who are in the messy middle, because we're in the messy middle all the time. But I don't think we give ourselves permission to like own that.
Totally. And the vulnerability is so like essential to connection. So it's like the unknown, the vulnerable, and those scary places. And I think especially for certain kinds of women, because I think in the culture, it's okay to be a mess if you're a woman, as a sort of like, and I'm going to have then somebody take care of me. It's almost like you have to be.
That's true.
Yeah. It's very like, it's almost like being childlike, to be taken care of. But I think the other alternative is like, you have to just take care of yourself 100% if you're not going to kind of fall into that victim, if you're not going to be victim. So I mean, I like that idea too. Like, we only kind of allow space for people to talk about their failure in retrospect once they've like gone past it, and now they're like,
exactly,
totally fine on the other side. That's fucking annoying. And like, I know for myself, I've been, so many people have been so generous to me as like mentors, and I only really want to hear from people who have had really hard things happen, because that's like real. And if things have only went well, how do you even know? Like, so much of this is luck.
Totally.
Like, so much of this is luck.
Totally.
So unless there's like a real challenge and you've had to face it and you've met your fucking demons, like, I don't even want to hear what you have to say.
I love it. That's the opening question. Like, have you met your demons? Because if not,
I want to know.
we're not gonna talk. Looking forward, what's your vision for family? Like the big, hairy, scary.
Oh, big,
vision.
hairy, scary. That's interesting. Ah, big, hairy, scary. I want Fat in the Moon to be like a magical entity in the world. So I want it to have like really practical applications. Like, yeah, that's where I get my deodorant. But I also know that like Fat in the Moon is a place for the weirdos that is in all of us, actually. I want Fat in the Moon to kind of ride on the edges between industries and like always kind of be like speaking to sort of the convention with a little bit of humor and being a trickster and not getting super pinned down. Like I really like the omni-channel as far as like fluidity and being able to kind of like, oh, I'm going to play over here a little bit in NCGs and co-op grocery stores because everybody who works at the co-op is amazing and I want to go hang out with that smell, you know, and talk about herbs and really meet people where they're at there. I also want to be in like, you know, cosmetics. Like we make adornments and that whole kind of like beautification, you know, this idea, these like really toxic ideas around like you're not good enough so you need to cover yourself up is just like a frontier I want to hit head on because I love decorating, I love adorning, but it's a really different come from, you know, to think about like how do you adorn something. You honor it when you adorn it, and I want that, especially I have two bonus daughters who are 18 and 22, and it's like, yeah, I just want to support like the new generations of women and all people actually, all genders, to like really appreciate themselves and show up fully, because so much time and space, so much internal time and space is in insecurity, not good enough, and like fucking hell, like if we could reclaim that energy that goes to those kinds of thoughts, we would the world would be healed. So that's what I'm trying to do with Fat in the Moon in that like big vision way, and just be more in the spirit of collaborating with other businesses, because I'm so inspired by the work you're doing, and like we need it in all of the forms. We need this kind of love and care and juice in all different forms. So I want to be part of a movement that is with like-minded people.
I know you're so intentional with the language you use. I think language is so powerful, and I love that you call it adornments. Like I think that really speaks to the intentionality and the thought and the care behind what you're doing, and also really embodying this trickster energy. Because it's like, it's maybe the form factor looks the same, but the intention and the path to get there is completely different. And I love that.
Totally. And that's what art is. You know, we can see something that we see every day, we think we know it, but then just art is like, actually, maybe we can see it from this side, and then it's so different, and the way that we are as we look at it also changes. So it's not just us having the gaze on this thing. Like Fat in the Moon has changed me, and that is that kind of reciprocal relationship that I like being a part of. I'm challenged by it regularly, but I also really love it. I'm hungry for that kind of interaction.
You know, I'm curious, in this particular moment in time, what is challenging you and what's giving you hope?
I'll start with what's challenging me. I'm very challenged by narrow-mindedness, and just what I see as just such a force right now, which is narrow-mindedness and just self-serving and really short-sighted, because we live in such a profoundly magnificent world, and each of us should be doing everything that we can to be a steward, to protect it. And so I think when I see just a real lack of consideration for fellow humans, fellow animals and plants on this planet, just our community, it's alarming. It's alarming. And I think also kind of being, playing the game, but also trying to not play the game at the same time is challenging, for sure. I think that there's some days where I feel like, I'm riding the thing, and then some days I feel like I'm underneath the thing, like getting under the wheels of it. So, having enough like stamina to be able to face that is something I'm trying to cultivate. What is giving me hope is connections like this. Like truly, I think we think about resources in very particular ways. Especially in business, it's like capital, or raw materials, or these things that are so separate from like anything else that has to do with an ecosystem or a community. And so when I have been in moments of scarcity around those things, I kind of forget how friendship is a resource, encouragement is a resource, love is a resource. All of these things that I'm wealthy. I'm wealthy and rich in those resources. And so just to kind of like bask in that is giving me a lot of hope. And yeah, I think that those ultimately are the more important things. Of course, we need to survive. We need to thrive, actually, with other kinds of resources and financial resources.
So when we were raising our first external round last year, I had this moment where I was like, I actually don't want to invest my energy budget, which is precious, as all of ours is, in trying to get other people who don't know us or me to see value in me.
Yeah.
What I want to do is create shared value with the people who are already part of our ecosystem. You know, and I like so that's how we raised our crowdfunding. It feels like a disruptive system.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of the movement that's creating an army of like embodied women. And like we're all or maybe embodied feminine. It doesn't really have to be women. And we're all breaking and building in a way that serves us. Like I think I'm tired of this philosophy of, you create value and then you sell it. Like you create value for somebody else. I want to create value for the people.
Absolutely.
And with the people that we're building with, that are actually physically buying our product. Why shouldn't they have shares in the company?
I 100% agree with you. And, I think part of this is like that integration of like what business or the kind of status quo around business actually is, and making that legible to other people who, that's just like not part of their reality at all, even though it is impacting their reality fundamentally. Yes. I mean, I think as Fat in the Moon got a little bit bigger and I was like in more circles with people with MBAs and, who are in the CPG industry, I was like, oh my God, I don't know any of this language, like this model. I don't get. Like, yeah, you start a company, you get a bunch of VC investment, you grow the company, in 5 years you sell it. There's so much to say about that, but I think that model was like, whoa, I didn't even know that that's what was happening. And so it was again that naivete, but really also being like, I understand why that works for certain people, and no shade on them, but like I know that that's not what I'm trying to do with my business. And so you're kind of left like, okay, so the path isn't clear, it's not well-worn tracks, which aren't even working anymore, honestly. But how do you go a different direction? And you have to kind of create your own language too. And this, even around value, you have to create your own value. And it's tricky, but it's magic. And I think that's where money is magical thinking. And so, so true. That has helped me. I mean, I'm at the baby stages of that, but like that has helped me unpack a lot of limited ways of thinking about money and about business, because I'm starting to see it as all a story.
I'm trying to kind of distill what exactly it is. Like, what exactly is this? Is the core kind of thing? Like, I think our companies are so different, but there's a core thing that feels similar. And I think I hypothesize. So let me know what you think about this. I think it's this idea of trickster energy. Like I think it's this idea of, can we actually leverage a system to get somebody to think a little bit differently? Can you make makeup and get somebody to think about their bodies in a way that is celebratory? Can we actually like leverage things that exist to create values in something else,
Yeah.
and maybe to, like, you take somebody on a journey, and you're standing there, I don't know, 2 days later, 2 months later, and you're like, whoa, I feel like I'm changed. I'm
Yeah.
not where I started, and I think that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like the other piece at the core of both of our businesses too is just like trying to be a force for good.
Totally.
It's so simple, and I think a lot of people want to be forces for good. And I think that's where I want to believe that humans are mostly good, and so it's very like basic in that sense. But I love the idea of like leveraging something. Like, here's this business, here's the playbook, and then like how do we participate up into a point, and then like having somebody take their yummy rootless ball every day and just feel like, wow, I feel different, and it's connecting me to this person who created this and a plant, and like like that. If you think about how it's like culture is food, culture is art, it's dance, it's the songs. Like, we all are hungry for that kind of connection. We're all hungry for that kind of those modes of expression. But I think we are in this process of like reclaiming it from the capitalist domination. And it's tricky because it's a very seductive system. So but I do feel like there's that piece of like the evolution is usually built on what's come before, but the life wants to live, and it wants new and fertile ground. And I think like there's a lot of stagnation in this kind of late stage capitalism that like wants to be transformed.
Totally. Oh my gosh, I could literally talk to you forever.
I know. I feel the same.
I will let you go now. Thank you, Rachel. This
Thank
was
you,
such
Sachi.
a pleasure.
Oh my gosh.
My heart's full, my brain is full, my cup is full, everything is full.
I feel you. I absolutely feel you. And it's just like nice to philosophize with you.
Totally.
And like
I miss
philosophize with action, because we're like, okay, now we have to go run our businesses.
Exactly. Exactly. Philosophy is action. I think one of my big takeaways is business as art. Like, what would happen if we actually all looked at business as art?
Yeah. Maybe we'd have more fun. I don't know. Thank you, Sachi.
Thank you.